Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Rama Mukunda Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Background noise होता है. Everybody should mute themselves unless they want to talk. Yeah, thank you. Background noise.
So I must start by saying we are very, very thankful to the team that has prepared the content. The content was not prepared by myself or Ramukunda Prabhu. We might have done minor adjustments. But this work actually comes from the Pune team. And Pune team is actually Pune ISKCON, which is headed by His Grace Radhesham Prabhu. And he is basically a MTech IIT Mumbai gold medalist. And it so happened that, and the slideshow designing is done by Gauranga Prabhu, who happens to have moved to New York now. So he's a brahmachari. So both of these are saffron brahmacharis. The definition of brahmachari in ISKCON is they will not have bank account and they will not get married and they will wear saffron and they will take themselves as the servant of the whole society and they will simply spend their whole life purifying their own existence via serving by spreading the spiritual knowledge. Now, the deadly combination is when the IITians and gold medalists come into this business, they just take everything to the next levels. And you will see that this PowerPoint is to the next level that many of us from the corporate background have not seen a presentation like this. So Radhesham Prabhu has inspired more than 20,000 people in Pune. When I relocated to Pune for a couple of years, I noticed that just everybody knows about ISKCON. So he's just a person of a different caliber. You can look him up as Radhesham Prabhu on the internet. You will see his videos. He's a wonderful personality. Probably sleeps 3 hours a day, and rest of the time he's talking about the Vedic knowledge. That's how he looks, Radhesham Prabhu, and he has written many books. And what he has done is the knowledge which was available in the books of ISKCON, he made it more institutionalized in terms of the syllabus and the breakdown, and he created a further detailed system of how students could learn and how students could spread this knowledge very easily. The next part that I would like to thank is Harivilas Maharaj, His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj, who spent more than 20-25 years of his life just for establishing the ISKCON Seattle, Washington temple, which is in Sammamish. Next one is coming up in Bellevue. And in total, he has spent more than 50 years serving ISKCON. When he was like 18-19 years old, a young adult in France, he got in touch with some Hare Krishnas there, and once he saw Bhagavad Gita and once he met the founder of ISKCON, Prabhupada, he said, "I am not looking back. I may die, but I will not break any Vedic principle going forward." Because he came from a family that had a shop and used to sell meat, and that's the background he came from. But once he came to ISKCON, he became a vegetarian and no bad habits, and lived a nice family life with 6 kids. And while doing all that, he has created a very successful business called as uncleharris.com. You can look it up. They sell the health foods to superstores. So he has shown us example of how to be a grahastha, take care of family, how to run a temple, how to run business, and all of that can be done together without compromising anything. So he's another example in front of us, very inspirational. And if he was not there, we wouldn't be giving this class. So whole ISKCON temple in Sammamish is based off Harivilas Maharaj sacrificing his own life. So that's another great personality I want to thank, and the whole Guru Parampara. With that, this is the technical part. Alright, that's just a way of getting started with some exciting things like what are we talking about? This beautiful world, when we see Discovery Channel, when we see Animal Planet, we see so many wonderful birds chirping. So we see so many flowers, we see so many natural waterfalls and beauty. Is there a mastermind behind this mysterious universe? That's today's topic. In short, does God exist? Can a scientist believe in God? So we are going to quickly run through this and then open up for questions. If you feel like you have a compelling question, definitely you can stop and ask me. The overall is your observation, scientist observations, $2 million questions. Activity time we are going to skip, and we are going to learn about our prime duty in life. Now, our prime duty in life, it connects with Arundhati's question. We in ISKCON Seattle, we do lots of multi-faith conferences where we invite people like the great speakers from every religion, and they come and talk. And we had one mullah from Indonesia who grew up, and then he attended a 1,000-year-old university in Egypt, and now he's preaching here in Washington. And we asked him a very simple question, like, does God have a form? And he gave a very interesting answer. He said, yes, we just don't know how he looks. Because Allah receives your charity and gives it to somebody else. So that means Allah has hands. Allah is watching you. That means Allah has eyes. So obviously Allah has personality. We just don't know how he looks, so we don't talk about it. Very honest answer. The question that he answered was, what is the purpose of life? And it stayed with me that he said, if your shoes have purpose, how come your life does not have purpose, which is much more valuable? So how many times we have discovered the purpose of our life, right? Some people say, okay, I want to save all the penguins. That's the purpose of my life. Some people most of the people say, I want to take care of family. That's the purpose of my life. But those who with corporate background, have you come across a time when in your corporation a project was spun off, 10 people were assigned, and then you guys were left alone to figure out what are you trying to do? No, there is a project charter. When the funding gets assigned, there is a project charter that says, yeah, you get this $5 million for solving a problem. And that problem is you are going to implement CRM, you are going to implement something. So like that, even our life, think of it like a project, think of it like a budget, and this health, this wealth, this fame, these communication capabilities, which were given to us for a purpose, and that purpose needs to be known, right? And that purpose does not get invented in the middle of the life. The project was created after the purpose was created. So we will learn about the purpose of life as well. Be honest and ask me questions if you feel like. I'm not able to see you guys because I'm presenting. That's how Teams works, but you guys can see me, I hope. So does God really exist? This is the question that has divided humanity so stark that people who do not believe in God, I mean, do anything to them and they will not believe in God. And then there are people who will believe in God at any cost, and they will say, I will die, but I will believe that God exists. And then there is this vast majority in the middle, and many of them come from India, where it's like, if you are there, God, be happy. Okay, if I see a temple, I'll do like this. And God is something that once a year you go and do namaste, maybe on New Year, maybe on Krishna Janmashtami, maybe on some big festivals like Diwali. And I used to be one of those. But in India, people may go and write a paper on Darwin's theory, which defeats God's existence. And while going there, they'll pray to Ganapati and say, Ganapati Bappa, please, let me get good marks in the Darwin's theory where I am going to prove you don't exist. And Ganapati is so nice that he will say, okay, Baba, take 100 out of 100 marks, no problem. So does God really exist? I'll start with an interesting joke. And the joke is, we have a fantastic village next to a river in the middle of Haryana. And there is a Baba, there is a Swami, who stays outside this village in the jungle near the river. And he goes around his own routine of meditation and whatever he wants to do. But he does not come to village. He does not ask anything from the villagers. And the villagers get curious, saying that we have to hear from this Baba. We have to hear from this Swami. So they send invitations after invitation saying that, Baba, please come. And Baba is not coming. So then they make a schedule for the people in the village. Every day, different family will go and pray to the Baba and say, Baba, please come and give us some class. And the Baba finally agrees after months of persistence, saying that, okay, I'll come and give you the class. Baba comes, Baba starts the class, the whole village is standstill, nicely sit down and waiting and in rapt attention. And that is where the Baba says, do you believe in God? And the whole village says, of course, Baba, we do believe in God. That's why we called you. Baba says, then what will I tell you? I already believe in God. And he leaves. And this is Haryana. They said, Maza nahi aaya, we have to make this Baba work harder. So they again do a meeting, village meeting, and say, we shall go and get this Baba again. And after months of persistence, this Baba comes back again. And whole village is ready this time, okay? So Baba says, okay, tell me, do you believe in God? And the whole village says, no, we don't believe in God. And the Baba says, if none of you believe in God, why should I be wasting my time with you? And he leaves. And that is where our Haryana friends get really, really agitated and say, we shall make this Baba talk. And they again do a village meeting and they make a plan, and they make a plan that says that you'll see the plan. So Baba comes back after months of invitations, and again he will ask his favorite question, and the question is, do you believe in God? And this time the whole village is ready. Even the kids, girls and boys are ready. All the guys and all the boys, they say, yes, we believe in God. And all the ladies and all the girls, they say, we don't believe in God. And Baba says, okay, that is very simple. Those who believe in God should explain it to the people who don't believe in God. What is my job here? And he leaves. And your question is, so Ganesh, what is the context of this joke? And the context of this joke is we don't have full confidence that God exists. We may say things we don't have. Somebody puts a gun on our head and says that, does God really exist? And we are going to be maybe not, right? And I hope he exists, but I don't know. That's probably the more honest answer. I don't know. And that is where we are going to look at the process of understanding God also, because it's not just a question of does God exist or not, but the process of understanding the God. And today we are going to look at like very commonsensical observations, what are other scientists saying to see whether God exists or not. Any questions so far? So the simple and basic question is, who creates and maintains this beautiful and harmonious universe?
Ganesh,
Yes.
this is Anshum.
Yes,
I am Arunda's husband. I a question. Okay, when we use the term God, where did that word come from?
Words are language based. You agree?
Did you get my question?
Where did the word God come from?
Yeah. I mean, every word has an origin. So I was curious about what is the origin of the word God?
So I am not the expert on English language history, but I can tell you in Sanskrit, we call it as a Ishvara, and that comes from our books. Like Bhagavad Gita, like Srimad Bhagavatam, like Vedas. So we do a loose translation to God as Ishvara. But I am not the expert on English to tell you what is the background of that word. But that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, because we are having this whole discussion in English, so I mean that's the reason I my question came about.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Where did the word come from? So that's a good homework. Please bring the answer next time, because Wikipedia or something will have it. The definition of God is something I can tell you. As per Bhagavad Gita, there is a echo. So the creator, the controller, the enjoyer is God. One who created everything, one who is origin of everything, one who is in full control, one who maintains it, and one who enjoys it. That is the thing called as God. And this whole course is about understanding what does that mean. So let's see if there was a creator, right? So we are looking at very commonsensical concepts like when we see some art, we see the artist. When we see some organization, we will ask who is the organizer. For example, for this session to come together, there is a team of volunteers working very constantly, asking and soliciting people if they would like to learn Bhagavad Gita and list them together and add it to a WhatsApp group. There is a huge background work, which I was not much part of it. It is Jaipal Prabhu and team, which I'm thankful to. But when you see some organization, that means there is an organizer. Creation means creator, and design means designer, and energy means there is an energetic person behind the energy. And if you have laws which work all the time, there must be a lawmaker. These are the concepts we are going through. We see beautiful paintings like Mona Lisa. We know Leonardo da Vinci created it, right? And there are some great painters like Vaughan and Thomas and Henry. And the beautiful part of it is, so if somebody creates a painting of Mona Lisa, we know the person. But who created Mona Lisa? Who created the person behind it is also important. Somebody is a painter of the mountains. Who created the mountains? If waterfall painting is so beautiful, who created the waterfall? And for a rose, Prabhupada, the ISKCON founder, he went to a school for the kids, and the topic was, does God exist? So he first showed them the picture of a rose and said, do you think somebody painted this picture? And the kids said, of course, yes, we believe there is a creator behind this. And tell us about the picture. And they said, yeah, it has colors. What are the attributes, right? There are colors and there is beauty. Okay, awesome. And it is two-dimensional. Okay, great. So now then Prabhupada pulled out a artificial rose and said, okay, what do you think about this? Is there a creator behind this? Tell me the attributes. He said, yes, of course. This artificial rose was also made by someone, and it is three-dimensional. It is not two-dimensional. It has some texture to it. And yes, we believe in the creator. Then Prabhupada brought in a real rose and said, does this real rose also have a creator? And the kids said yes, because there must be, because if the lower creation had a creator, how come the higher creation does not have a creator? There is texture, there is fragrance, there is so much of softness. So yes, even a rose has a creator. And that's the whole point. Sometimes we miss that we appreciate the sub creations, forget the original creation and the creator behind it. Let's see if I can run. So beautiful waterfalls. I'm here in Washington. So many of my friends create a backyard waterfalls, put some stones and put a half horsepower motor, and then there is a waterfall, right? But how about this Niagara and so many big ones? When it comes to a flower, we may appreciate the beauty of the flower. So beautiful flowers that grow up every day, millions of them around us, and they go unappreciated in terms of so that's the example that I was talking about, whether it's a painting or a artificial rose, we appreciate the creation and then forget to look at the real rose. When we see the rose in our garden, does that remind us of God? That's the question. And now let's look at the organizational part of it, right? For us, those who are managers, team management, what a topic it is, right? We have to do MBAs and so many ways just to understand this, how do human beings connect with each other, how they get motivated and how to unblock them. And then there are so many theories of Scrum and Agile and theories of motivations just to get work done, But now let's look at who is organizing these honeybees into their work.
Bees are called social insects because they live and work together as a community. Thousands of female bees, called worker bees, live together in a hive with a queen bee. The queen bee was marked with a red dot, so we can see her better. The worker bees are all females, but they almost never lay eggs. Worker bees do almost all the chores in the hive. They gather pollen or nectar, guard the entrance, clean the hive, build the comb, make honey, tend the queen, and feed the larvae. They even fan the hive with their wings to keep it cool on a hot summer day.
So for those who are involved in the executive positions, we know what it takes to structure a project. We know what it takes to structure. You have to literally start with job descriptions and what roles we are going to be in. If it is a software project, how many developers, how many testers, how many test engineers, how many business analysts, how many product managers. There is a whole charter to how the work will happen, how many project managers, how many scrum masters. So, and then there is roles and responsibilities and somebody has to oversight and make it happen. But These bees seems to be for millions of years. They seems to be working nicely together, and they don't wake up and say, "What is my job today?" They exactly know what they're doing, what their roles are, and it's complementary to each other in such a way that they are continuing their life for a very long time. And there are more examples like that, but I'll skip those. We see tons of intelligence and organization in the nature. That means, there is an organizer behind it. It just indicates to that fact. We see wonderful things created by human beings, right? Whether it is technology. If one fine day you go on a beach and you find a nice watch, and you open up that watch and there is a nice PCB in it, the printed circuit board. And a circuit board is always designed for a purpose, and this time it is designed for the time. And you realize that this is not an act of randomness. It is something that is by design. Somebody created it. Wonderful architectural marvels. We know somebody erected it. Somebody calculated the whole mechanics. Sculptures. Somebody carved it. The stone was there. How Shivaji came about. So that is there. So shouldn't this universe, which is so much intelligence built in, is there a possibility that somebody is managing it? Galaxies where we look so small in front of them. Even our planet looks so small. Even our solar system looks so small. These beautiful galaxies are working together in tandem. So far we have not seen that moon is going to collide on Earth. Like the Pluto has a orbit which is very different than rest of the planets, but we still have not seen any collisions. We talk about some big meteorite is going to come hit us, but still our civilization has continued for. So there is some intelligence, there is some planning, execution happening. So this creation indicates there must be a creator. And once you start marveling and understanding God's engineering and start appreciating the engineering in small details, and when you start comparing that with human engineering, you realize how small, how limited we are versus how great God is. For example, these seeds that you see are probably 2 millimeters in size. Can you imagine what can grow out of it? What can grow out of it is one of the biggest living things on this earth, and I will show you. Right, so what we are seeing is these sequoia trees which are so tall that now I give you a comparison, and the comparison is, the space shuttles, the tree is bigger than that, it's bigger than the whale, it's bigger than the dinosaurs, and it's almost bigger than Statue of Liberty. So that's the beauty of it, that we have something that big growing out of 2 millimeter size seed. And that's the beauty of God's engineering. Talk about our brain and the complexities that go with the brain. So the brain, which is so powerful and can store so much of information and process it also, is something we all get for free, right? We did not go to some local grocery store to buy our brain. We just received it and nicely, and based on which we are able to do wonderful things in life. Did somebody design it? Somebody created it? And let's look at what the scientists are talking about, right? The author of the book, The Brain, he's saying the human brain can store more information than all the libraries in the world. That's the capacity. We're not able to harness the capacity in everyday life, but it has the capacity. If we go into the micro world, you will see that there is so much of organization. The DNA of the DNA, which is the molecule of life, those who study deeper, they see enormous complexity stored in it, whether it is 30,000 genes code for proteins, or whether it is 2 meters of DNA. This 3 billion DNA subunits. That's huge. And a minor change in your DNA makes you a different person, right? And that's why the genetic engineering is prohibited, because we don't want to create these superhuman beings or more dangerous human beings or something. The DYS is the name of the scientist which talked about how the matter is structured in 14 standard ways, and because of the inner symmetry can be structured in these many ways. Now, I am not the expert in the micro world, but I was able to appreciate the fact that there is good design in what is happening in the micro world also. For example, graphite and diamond both may come from carbon family, but based on how the molecules are structured slightly differently, one is the softest material in the world and one is the hardest material in the world. That is also something. And the deeper you go in the laws of science, you will see that all these laws work flawlessly and together. We don't see solar system things bouncing into each other. So there is so much around us which we ignore in terms of who created it. And this is my most favorite video that you're going to see, where every artist leave their style of operation or fingerprints on something. Every engineer, every architect, they do things in certain way that they leave their fingerprints on. Looking at it, you know who's done it, right? For those who are famous enough. So now let's see God's fingerprints on creation. Now, when I say that, right from very small things in ocean and plants up to the galaxies, if you see a common design, does it not point to some intelligence that is across how a plant is designed and how the galaxies are designed? So this is my most favorite video, guys.
Around 1200 AD, a man named Leonardo Pisano, better known as Fibonacci, discovered a sequence of numbers that created a very interesting.
So just want to point to that this is my 15th batch of DYS, and our syllabus has evolved and changed based on how different people take a shot at it. But the point is, one of my previous batch students, he pointed out that even this Fibonacci series was discovered from the Vedic scriptures, and he had sent me some evidences of that.
Pattern. The sequence begins with the numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and continues indefinitely. Each number is obtained by adding the last 2 digits together. A rectangle with a length and width of any 2 of the numbers of this sequence forms what is known as the golden rectangle, a perfect rectangle. A golden rectangle can be broken down into squares the size of the next Fibonacci numbers down and below. If we were to take a perfect or golden rectangle, break it down into smaller squares based on Fibonacci's sequence, and divide each with an arc, the patterns begin to take shape. We begin to see Fibonacci's spiral. The spiral in and of itself is insignificant. Its importance is revealed in where we find it. Take, for example, the sunflower. The display of its florets are in perfect spirals of 55, 34, and 21, the sequence of Fibonacci. The fruitlets of the pineapple create the same spiral based on the sequence. The pine cone does the same. As currents move through the ocean and the tide rolls onto the shore, the waves that bring in the tide curve into a spiral that can be mathematically diagrammed onto a plot at the points 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and 55. Buds on trees, sand dollars, starfish, petals on flowers, and especially the nautilus shell are formed with this exact same blueprint. With each segment of growth, the nautilus adds to itself one more value on Fibonacci's scale. This blueprint can be seen around us on a small scale every day, but the greatest example of all is directly above our heads. At an average of 100,000 light years across, even the spiral of the galaxies above us are formed with the exact design that the tiny shell is formed. This sequence or blueprint appears to be the trademark of a designer, a proof of a creator, something left behind indicating the one who was there, a fingerprint. As we scan our universe from the tiny flower to the awe-inspiring galaxy, we see the fingerprint of God.
So Fibonacci series was my most favorite video, because right from our bones to the things in the ocean, things in the plant, and right up to galaxies, who could have the same design pattern? As in software we say design pattern. There is a way we design things in such a way that there is a purpose behind it. So this design pattern, the God's fingerprints, I would say. And we're not just thankful to Pune team who put the content together, and the ISKCON team in Seattle who has created this batch, but we are also thankful to people on the internet who have created this content that we can reuse, and we thank them as well. Any questions so far? So the satellites that we launch, they need 24-hour monitoring, right? And they are monitored for various parameters like orientation, spin, velocity, cosmic radiation, heat dissipation, distance. And there is a whole kind of command and control center. I have seen one in Houston in NASA, but every country that plays with satellites, they have a control center where there is a 24/7 batches working, right? People taking shifts. But then aren't these planets which are hanging in the space also satellites? Like Earth, with such a huge mass that we know is so small in front of the sunshine or the sun mass. So, and there's a whole science working in the space, and we are so small in front of it that it's not even measurable. And then the micro world, which goes deeper, that is so small in front of all of it. But whether it is a macro world or a micro world, whether it is in the galaxy or in the ocean, we see some design patterns here. We see some signs of design. That means there is a designer behind this. And who is in control? Is it NASA who is controlling? I mean, if we lose electricity in a city or cops are not there on the duty for traffic management, we see so much chaos in the traffic. Right? Maybe not in Singapore, but who is controlling the traffic of planets? That's the question. So this design indicates there is a designer, and if the distance between Earth and Sun, if it was any different than what it is now, we could not enjoy the seasons and we could not be surviving in that weather. So there is a design in everything. something we see. It's not random. If it was random, say for example, on Sunday, suddenly the gravity stops working, right? We will not be able to live life. We cannot do anything. And we are not independent. What if there was no air around us? Can we breathe? If there is no food growing, just last week around Washington and California, we had wildfires which were causing so much of smoke we couldn't see sunshine for a week, and we got the importance of sunshine. If no sunshine, no light, no life, because it looked like a nuclear winter where lack of sunshine, that means everything gets cooler and cooler, and finally we all have to go. Someone throws a stone and breaks your glass or a TV or something, you're gonna say, who threw that stone, right? Who managed to do that? That means somebody give energy to the stone, and you are looking for the person who gave the energy to the stone. That means behind the energy of the stone, there is a person, energetic. So all these planets which are going so fast, who is the energetic person who is giving that energy? Say you are going to college or you're going to office, there are laws of everything. Like in Washington, my kids are studying and they have like, my homework is due at 10:30 at night. Wow. And they are so sharp about it that if they don't submit it, then they don't get the grades or something like that. So that means there are rules. Every time there is a rule or a law, somebody made the law, right? Somebody made the rule. We live in the city of Sammamish. Now city of Sammamish has half a dozen council members who are debating and discussing what rules are applicable for our village. And that's what everyone is doing, right? They are creating rules and laws which are applicable. For example, if you are driving in India, you are maintaining the left side. If you are driving in the USA, you are maintaining the right side. Somebody created the law. You cannot say I come from India, so I'm going to drive on left now. Cricket, we have rules. Yes. Likewise, in nature also we see the laws. The periodic table that we all studied in our school, or probably 11, 12. So there is a periodic law. It's not periodic chaos, it is periodic law. So every time we see a law, probably there's a lawmaker behind it, because that's what we see in our human life, that we create the laws and we implement it, and we actually don't implement it so well. But if you look at the applied mechanics, that was one of the subjects in the engineering. Once you kick a ball, it's gonna always move in a certain way based on the air and the resistance and the speed and the gravity and all of that. So those laws are followed flawlessly by nature. All these thousands of laws we learn in the engineering, and we never bothered to say, so who created this law, right? In Bollywood, we have this song, Duniya banane wale, kya tere man mein samai, kahe ko duniya banai. So laws of thermodynamics, every law has a lawmaker. So if we see so many laws, and scientists are discovering the laws, they are not creating the laws. Please understand that. So that means the law was created by somebody. Why don't we find out who was behind it? So flawless laws means lawmaker. That's the assumption. I don't agree with the descriptions of this picture, the content came, but the point is, there is a variation in our life in terms of the kind of opulences we have, whether it is beauty, fame, health, looks, money, all of it, knowledge, all of it is basically not the same. But we make some choices in life, don't we? And some things are given to us, daivena karmanetrina. So what are the choices that we make? We choose what to study. We choose where to apply. We choose whom to marry. We make the choices. We can choose which car to buy as well. We can choose which house to go into. The things we don't choose are who are our parents and how we look. Michael Jackson tried to change it. He probably became more horrible. But our face cut, our intelligence, we try to improve it by doing things, but the fundamental intelligence remains steady in terms of somebody is already too intelligent and somebody is not, and that doesn't change a lot by doing other things. So it's given to us. Who chooses, on what basis, and is it by chance? I'll take a pause for any questions.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, this is Srividya here.
Hi, Srividya.
I have a question. So, yes, there are so many things created, and obviously there is a creator. Everything is okay. But does Bhagavad Gita say what is the reason behind creating so many things? We are just part of very, very small portion comparatively compared to the universe. So, does Bhagavad Gita talk about what is the reason for such a big creation?
Yes, yes. There is a full answer to that, and that's part of our syllabus, but we are going systematically topic by topic. So definitely in the future sessions, your question will get answered about why this was created. But if you want like a very short answer to that, there is a spiritual world and there is a material world. And in the spiritual world, there are people who are following all the rules, and they are in a very cooperative state of affairs over there where they're not breaking any rules basically. But and they have fantastic loving relationship with God, the creator. Some rebellious souls who said, why God is getting all the attention, I want all that attention. Those rebellious souls were given an opportunity to try out if they can be happy being away from God.
Okay.
And for them, this world was created, the world we are in now. So this world is a place of realizing that even if we get things here, we don't become happy away from God or disconnected from God, and we learn how to go back, and we go back. So this whole manifestation has a simple meaning, and the meaning is we needed a space away from God. God gave it to us. We needed a space to assert our dominance. It is given to us. We needed a space to compete with each other because we all came away from God because we wanted to become the boss. We wanted to become God. And we try those, that's our lifelong project, to acquire more influence, more power, more money, more this, more that, more beauty. And we basically end up becoming miserable in the process because it's too much. And when we realize that this trying to become happy away from God project is not working out, we start to look for questions of life, because if life gives us too much of happiness without asking for it, then who cares about the Bhagavad Gita and who cares about God? I'm so happy, right? The countries which go through material prosperity, economic welfare, there is a sudden nice drop in their God consciousness. Look at Europe.
Correct.
Right? Look at China. So basically there is no interest in God business because, we are getting what we need. So why do we need God? So the whole idea is that it's our effort to become God by being away from God and being in the dominating position. And the purpose of scriptures is to remind us that whatever you are enjoying is basically very small happiness compared to how much you could be happy back home. And God gives us the free will. God gives us the free will to try out things, just like the daughter in the 3rd grade, 7-8 years, she comes to mommy, say, mommy, I want my own kitchen. I want to cook. Now, mommy knows that if she gives her the real kitchen, then she will burn her fingers and get hurt and all that. So she gives a dummy kitchen. And we all had dummy kitchen in the childhood, right? Where we could make our own tea and make our own rice and all that. So this world is a perverted reflection of the real world. We belong in the real world. We do not belong here. We are here only to realize we do not belong here, and hence we should figure out how to go back. And then life gets a mission, life gets a project, which is how do I go back? And that is where the journey of discovery begins. And that is this journey of self-discovery. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I never thought about this perspective. So I look forward for more details in further classes. Thank you.
Definitely. And this is the kindergarten of spirituality, this course. That's why it is made in such an easy way. And then After you complete this course, you guys will have a choice to join a serial study of Bhagavad Gita. That means we open up the book, we start with the first shloka, introduction. We are in the company of like-minded people who also want to learn. And once a week for an hour or so, we study Bhagavad Gita. And that goes on for a year or so. And we get the hang of we get the conviction basically. When we really read Bhagavad Gita, we realize that, gosh, I never thought Bhagavad Gita was saying this. It's very beautiful and it's fun. And if you do it in the company of other people who are also interested in Bhagavad Gita, I mean, life just gets exponentially better. So who chooses on what basis, and is it by chance? That's the question. So it is already known in the world of matter that there are defined laws. That means the things that we are getting in terms of intelligence, beauty, birth are also by some law. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a book with 18,000 shlokas, right? And it's one of the best books available to mankind. This is like, think of it like if Bhagavad Gita is a small book, this is the big book. Just leave it at that for now. If Bhagavad Gita says, if you do this, this will happen. Srimad Bhagavatam says, and X person did it, and what happened? They tell you the historical perspective of it. So, karmena daivanetrena means what? By the higher authority, the nature is watching you all the time. The devatas are watching you all the time. And by the higher authority and based on what you have done, you get your birth. Flawless laws is equal to lawmaker, because there cannot be a flawless law execution with nobody making the law, nobody implementing the law. See, we have American Constitution or Singapore Constitution or Indian Constitution. We have so much of bureaucracy in place to implement it, right? So there must be implementation also. Let's see what the scientists are talking about. Like Albert Einstein, which is our favorite scientist, he's saying there is a perfect brain behind all the natural physical laws. This is Einstein saying, none other. And this is pretty big, I'm not going to read it. But this is our Erwin, who is our Nobel laureate, Schrodinger's law that we may have studied in the engineering. I am very astonished that the scientific picture of the real world around me is so deficient. So what he's saying is science covers few things, but then it misses out on so many things. For example, we don't talk about God, we don't talk about soul, right? Lord Kelvin, and Kelvin is the Kelvin temperature. The whole temperature measurement is his gift. If you think strongly enough, you will be forced by a science to believe in God. And we have a beautiful story of Sir Isaac Newton. Newton had a model of planets in his lab, and his scientist friends would come and see him. There was a way to do the crank, move the crank of this model where all the planets would move in a coherent manner as per the real planet movement. And the scientists were very happy, the friends were very happy. It's like, hey, Newton, this is such a nice model. Can I who made it for you? Can I also get one, kind of thing? And Newton would say, yeah, so yesterday evening, there was a small explosion in my lab and this model came about. And can you imagine the friend's reaction? It was naturally, so Newton, you think I'm drunk or I'm fool or something? Please tell me. I cannot believe that an explosion can lead to a model like this. And then after stretching the friends enough, Newton would say, so you fool, if you cannot believe that this model came out of an explosion, how do you believe that this whole existence came out of Big Bang? That was his very simple way of explaining that. Big Bang is not real, it's not scientific. What Newton said was, this most beautiful system of sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. This being governs all things not as the soul of the world, but the Lord over all. And on account of his dominion, he is to be called Lord God, universal ruler. If that answers Arun's question. Where does the word God come from? Not that it came from Newton, but he's using it in the right context. So even the great scientists whose discoveries we are benefited tremendously also believe in God. So generally we have this concept of God is science and God doesn't go together. How come? Because the scientists are believing in God. There are scientists which are atheist and there are scientists which are creatist. So the creative scientists say that we see so much of evidences of intelligent design that we are forced to believe that there is God. Max is saying, I saw it in the I saw in it the atom, the key to the deepest secret of nature, and it revealed to me the greatness of the creation and creator. Because once you start studying the atom and the neutron and electrons, you realize, wow, what kind of a science, who could put together that in such a small thing such as atom, right? And our Srinivasa Ramanuja, an equation, he's a mathematician, right? An equation for me has no meaning unless it represents a thought of God. What a thought for a mathematician like him. Werner, there is a higher power not influenced by our wishes, but finally decides and judges. So all these scientists were not just atheists, they were also Faraday, Michael Faraday. We ought to value the privilege of knowing God's truth far beyond anything we can have in this world. So scientist after scientist, they are fully convinced God does exist. So what makes us believe that God does not exist? So we are heading for a Kaun Banega Crorepati contest. Are you ready? First question, in case anybody was sleeping. What is the origin of the universe? Do you guys want to unmute and tell me? A, B, C, D.
Big Bang.
Big Bang.
That's what we have read so far. It's a Big Bang which started everything.
Shall we lock it down? Are you ready? So that's one. Big Bang is a theory that given to us as something that created. So we have a slide just for that. But the answer is intelligent design, and we will learn quickly about it. Another question. What is the purpose? A, B, C, or D?
D.
Kabhi khushi kabhi gum.
D.
Lock kar diya. Yes, the purpose of life and the creation is to understand about God and life. So think of it like a very simple thing. At the airport, a 3-year-old baby wants to give up the hand of the parents, like mommy, and start running helter-skelter. Comes like 15 feet ahead in the crowd, and then suddenly feels scared, starts looking around, where are my parents? And then finds her parents back and goes and grabs them, right? That is the whole story of we giving up on God's hand, coming away, suffering, scared, now look for God, and we find God and we go back. It is that simple. The whole human life gets described in that very simple act of a child running away from parents, feeling scared, and coming back. Like I totally remember my son, Aryan, when he was 3 years old. Any store we go to, he would run helter-skelter just to give us a ride. And we were in Sam's Club or Costco or something, some big store. And I told my wife that this time he runs, we're going to hide. And we actually did that. We hid behind a column and we were watching him. And he ran nice 50 feet and thinking we're going to go grab him any moment. And then he looked behind, there was nobody. And suddenly the expression changed and you were so scared. And then we stepped out of the car, away from the column, and he came running back. And that's what happens. We want to enjoy away from God and feel big and feel empowered and realize that it's not working out. Then we find God and go back. Have you seen a complicated machine which came by chance? No, every creation that we see has a creator, right? So let's talk about the Big Bang Theory. According to Big Bang Theory, everything began from a point of infinite temperature, infinite density, infinitesimal size that is physically indescribable, mathematically unverifiable, beyond all conceptions of space and time. Does it not look like faith? There are three theories of creation, right? One is Big Bang, and it's right here that for Big Bang to be true, can you produce it one more time? No. So it's not repeatable and it's not verifiable, and it does not even meet with the commonsensical understanding of possibilities. So for us to believe in Big Bang, probably, if we use the same currency of faith, we can easily believe that God created this world. If we can invest so much faith in Big Bang Theory, even with less investment, we can believe in God. What is the problem? Our life just gets better, actually. Does that answer? Somebody had this question that we always learn Big Bang Theory as the way of how we came about. Sure, somebody has to create some alternative answers to God. They tried, but are they real probable? What is the Encyclopedia of Britannica saying? It should be emphasized that no theory of origin of solar system has yet to won general acceptance. All involve highly improbable assumptions. So it's highly improbable that it happened. Why should we believe it without any evidence, without any verifiability, and without any benefit, actually? We're gonna skip the activity time, but you get to think about something, and the something is we have human governance. You agree? Can you think of some examples of universal governance? Think of it and give me some examples. I'm listening. So with that, let me show you the examples of it, right? Let's make a comparison of whichever country you are in, we're a global family, and universal government. So for example, a national government has departments like health and home and energy, finance, defense, education. Do you agree? So let's see if we can make a parallel department for universal government, God's government. Any examples of law and order?
Karma.
Karma, okay, great example. For health, is there a God's department?
Dhanvantri.
Ayurveda. Okay. For energy, does God have a department for energy?
Surya.
Yeah, great. For wealth, is there God's department?
Kubera.
Yeah, Kubera. But what do we discover as a natural wealth on earth?
Gold.
Yes, gold. Yes, very good.
Gems.
So, yes, very good. So you guys are bang on point. When people do wrong thing happen to them. Keep drinking for life and liver problems will come. Keep smoking for life, cancer will follow. There will be small exceptions. So, oh, my grandpa lived for 93 years, he smoked every day and did not get cancer. Okay, there are small examples like that. But by and large, yes, keep smoking and get cancer. And the AIDS is a good example of especially connected to ill behavior. So there is a law of karma that seems to be working, and we'll go deeper into that. But high level, there is some governance on the top of the human governance. Ayurvedic herbs, that's the God's health ministry. There are Charak Samhita gives thousands and thousands and thousands of herbs for very specific ailments. And for us to declare one vaccine today, the whole humanity is fighting and testing and all that to get one vaccine, right? But when the humanity was staying just in the jungles and caves and all that, who figured out that this herb is useful for this illness. Can you imagine how there is nobody running the systemic tryouts and all that, right? The trials that people are running for vaccines and everything. So for example, if a herb works on blood pressure, how many people you need to try out that herb on? First, find people with blood pressure. In the olden days, there was what blood pressure you have? You are in the jungle, you are in the nice fountain areas, and the blood pressure was probably a rare disease. And still, there is a medicine for that, like Divya Muktavati from Patanjali. You don't need to take any allopathic medications if you take Divya Muktavati. I'm saying this because I tried it, it worked. In 2004, I had serious blood pressure issue. 1 month of treatment, it went away. Of course, do it under the guidance of a certified naturopath or whoever it is. But in my case, it worked. So yes, I suddenly started believing in Ayurveda, because otherwise, yeah, there is Ayurveda, homeopathy, this pathy, that pathy, but no faith. But my trust in Ayurveda went like from almost 2% to 100% with this miraculous recovery. So Ministry of Energy, sun and moon, right? They give us natural, and the waves and the tides and the wind energy, so many energies. Finance, the gold and the silver, they're easily available in the mines. So God already gives the wealth. Ozone, it is so nicely protecting us, right? How we put some protection around, protective blanket around our child. There are so many dangerous radiations coming from the universe outside Earth that God has put a nice cover around Earth to make sure that only nice rays will come inside. And the Vedic education comes in the form of Vedas or Bible or Quran. Based on the time, place and circumstances, God sends a messenger, and sometimes he will come himself and reveal the message of why are you here and what are you doing here and would you like to come back? So now we realize that through our observation, looks like God should exist. From scientists' observation, looks like God should exist. From the universal governance side, God looks like God should exist. So then the question is, what is our duty? And as per the scriptures, we are supposed to use our intelligence not in proving that God does not exist, because we can argue till cows go home that God exists or not exist. But the purpose of life is to appreciate the great creation of God. So when tomorrow when you wake up and see sunshine, wow, thank you God, there is beautiful sunshine which allows me to breathe and enjoy the light. There is a food that is growing because of it. For example, in the USA there is a store called as Costco. For those who are not from USA, I regularly buy roses from them, and every time, and they look so beautiful. But I smell and there is no fragrance. So I asked the flower selling lady that why the roses are not fragrant, and she said because they are grown in a greenhouse. That means the artificial grow environment where there is not a natural sunshine and all that. They are grown over there, and that is why. So the sun is something that is giving more than just the light. Sun is giving the life, basically. Sun is giving the fragrance, which is clearly clarified by that lady. Now, what does moon give? Just moon gives us light? No. The taste that we have in the vegetables come from moonshine. Again, if you don't believe, try the vegetables grown indoors and try the vegetables grown outdoors in clear sky. You will feel the taste for the vegetables very different. To unfold the mysteries of God's creation through science to glorify God. That means if we get, say, for example, we have laptops, we have Teams, we have internet, all this is science. But if we use that science to appreciate God, that's the perfect way to use the science. To understand and explain the purpose of Lord's creation, which is to love God and love all. That's the purpose. We are not here to hate each other. The only and primary difference between where we are and the God's world is over there is no envy. Over here, we're in the ocean of envy. We are always trying to rise above others. We're always scared that others are trying to rise above us, and we are not able to handle the success of others. That's why when we give up envy, that's the good news, because the envy is our envy for others is actually manifestation of our original envy for God. God, why you have all the power, beauty, wealth, everything? I would like all that. And again, there are two levels. One is envy, one is jealousy. Jealousy is why Surbhi has a Tesla. No, I want to have a Tesla like Surbhi is jealousy. But why Surbhi have Tesla? She should not have Tesla. That is envy. Envy is next level of jealousy. It's like, why do you have it? And so there are so many people who want to have things. That's okay. You want to have things. But why do you have it? That is envy. And because we envy each other, we continue to be here no matter what we try. So if we love God and love all as children of God, it becomes a natural way to go back. To utilize everything for pleasure of God and welfare of all. We have health, we have wealth, we have fame, we have personality, we have skills. All of it can be used in service of God for welfare of all the existing living entities. It goes beyond human beings. It's human beings, animals, plants, everything. And in this course, we will explain you how you can benefit everyone, not just neighbors, not just family, not just human beings, but everything. Any questions about our primary duty? Because I was shocked to hear this. I never thought this was our primary duty of life before I learned Bhagavad Gita. Any questions? All right, we'll talk about session 2 now. So we as human beings are very, I must say, limited. And when I say we are very limited, we don't even remember each other's phone numbers. You try to give me your phone numbers and I'm going to say 3 times, can you stop? Okay, yeah, 4 to 5 and yeah, okay, 3 numbers. So we don't even have ability to remember our family members' phone numbers. That's the level of intelligence we carry as a human beings in the time frame that we are in. And we don't remember things, we don't believe in things, we are often misled. And what is a better example than trying to defeat this virus as a whole humanity? Whether to wear a mask, whether to not wear a mask, whether to take a vaccine, whether to not to take a vaccine, whether to take a flu shot, whether to take a not a flu shot, whether to wash your hands, or whether to wear gloves, whether to go to store, or whether to order on Instacart. So many choices we are making in the dark. So many choices. And so many countries are trying to create the vaccine, not cooperating with each other, but competing with each other, right? So the science is progressing, the humanity is not progressing a lot. And as long as the science keeps progressing, but the humanity is not progressing, no matter how much scientific inventions we make, we will end up creating these bioengineered viruses and so many ways to control each other and enslave each other. And as long as there is a mentality to lord over others and enslave others, what good science can do? Science can provide you nuclear weapon, but you can create a nuclear energy out of it, or you can create a nuclear bomb out of it. Same thing with the hydrogen technology. So everything, electric engineering, any engineering is like, you can do good with it, you can do bad with it. But because our humanity is not progressing and we are trying to dominate each other to the point that we are ready to do things, bad things to each other, we as human race cannot become happy. There is lots of talk about universal brotherhood, but without understanding who is our universal father, there cannot be brotherhood. And that is where Bhagavad Gita comes into picture, where Krishna says, I am the seed giving father of the whole existence. And that is where we are trying to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. Reading Bhagavad Gita is like going to mommy and saying, mommy, mommy, who's my daddy? And mommy says, here is your daddy, right? Like that, Bhagavad Gita tells you about God, and we learn about God, and we align with God, and we go back. We don't belong here forever. We are here only to recover ourselves out of this situation. And that is why this place we are is a place, it's called as Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. What is Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam? A place of misery. And you may say, but Ganesh, I am not suffering, I'm good, Okay, Ashashvatam means it's not permanent. Means even the state of happiness that you may have now may not be permanent. Why? Even if you achieve everything in life, finally it all comes to end. Like the Taimur who looted India so many times. When he was about to die, he asked his servants to bring the whole wealth in front of him. And when he looked at all the wealth he had accumulated from India, he started crying vehemently. So the servant said, why are you crying, master? You wanted to see all the wealth. I showed you all the wealth. Now what? He said, but now I have to leave it. I have to leave my wealth behind. So even if you become the super achiever in life, you have to leave all your achievements behind you. And next time you're born, again, you start by learning what is A, what is B, what is C. You might be a PhD now. Again, you have to pass your first grade exam and second grade exam. So no matter what you achieve, there is a punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. That means we are going again and again in the cyclic system where basically we are suffering. And we are suffering in such a way that we don't even know that we are suffering. That's the beauty of the suffering we have. You ask anybody, how are you? Yeah, I'm okay. So we don't even realize that we are suffering. Why we don't realize we are suffering? Because we have forgotten how much happier we could be back home. And in God's kingdom, how much happiness is waiting for us, we do not know. We have forgotten about it. That's why we think this is okay, right? You take a beggar on the Bombay streets, how are you? He says, I'm okay. You take a billionaire in New York, how are you? I'm okay. Where is this okay coming from? This okay is coming from the fact that we have forgotten how much happy actually we could be. And that happiness is our birthright. The spiritual happiness is our birthright, which is billion times bigger than our material happiness. And we are here to unlock that happiness of connecting with God and relishing this life also, perfecting this life and going back for good. No more birth, no more death, no more old age, no more disease, no more corona. That brings us to the end of our session. I am happy to take any questions.
So to sum up, we are living in a matrix.
Yes, Matrix actually, if you look at the credits for Matrix, it talks about Bhagavad Gita. They picked up the concepts from Bhagavad Gita. And a friend of mine who is in New York, he uses only Matrix to provide this course. Whole course is based on Matrix. That's a very good analogy.
So why is it that all of us, we are born and we grow up in life, and then we are not taught about these facts of lives, right? Only when we we face something hard in our lives and we think deeply about what's the purpose of our life here, then and we go through these courses. I mean, I've taken some other courses as well. Then we get this gyan, right? But then everybody in our society, they are just taught, okay, why don't you study? Why don't you become something? Why don't you start earning, have a family? But nobody talks to you about this truth.
That's such a profound question. For that, we have to go back to history and study where we are, right? Lord Sri Krishna left 5,000 years back, and that was the beginning of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, things get gradually bad. The Vedic system was system of, at the age of 5, go to the Guru's ashram and study all this knowledge, and up to the age of 15, 25, you keep learning nicely various skills and scriptures and the knowledge about life, and you prepare yourself for life. And in today's educational system, which is based on the Lord Macaulay's education of system, and his purpose of creating the ecosystem was twofold. One was to destroy the faith of people from India in their own scriptures, and the second thing was to create a class of Indians who are like coconuts. When I say coconuts, brown from outside and white from inside. What does that mean? They should appreciate the Western influence and they should look down upon anything Indian. Now, if you look at our wonderful people like Barkha Dutt and everybody, you see a whole class of intelligentsia, people who are so-called intelligent philosophers and thinkers in the society fall into that category of products of Lord Macaulay's educational system. So the purpose of education is to bring best within you. And without even knowing what is the purpose of life, how do you bring the best within you? So what we end up doing is we learn some skills so that we can fill our tummy. That's what it is. Roti kapada makan, nothing beyond that. But while trying that, that is the beauty of scriptures and God is, when you become hungry for it, the teacher will appear out of nowhere. Somebody will tap you. So it's about opening up our hearts, and the knowledge is always waiting for us. Very good question. Any other questions?
You mentioned that the purpose of our life is to think about God and then make more discovery and find about God. But nowadays, so many people have discovered and they feel their discovery is only the best, and they fight for that. So they keep fighting between these faiths. So why that is happening?
Why so many religions? And
right, religions and even inside religion also there are so many different faith and confusion.
So that's a very good question again. So we are in Kali Yuga, and we have to look at the history of religions, right? So first thing first is when Lord Sri Krishna went back, he knew that the religion is going to go down, and that is why he gave Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. These were the two books given for Kali Yuga to sustain the ability to go back for human beings. But in the due course of time, even these books became unavailable to the mankind because our basic varnashram system. So when I say varna and ashrama, the original Hindu or Vedic system, Hindu is a word given by foreigners. That is something to understand. Hindu is not Sanskrit word. It is not Vedic word. When you say garva se kaho hum Hindu hai, be proud that you are Hindu. That's like oxymoron because you are being proud about a word that given to you by somebody else. That does not make sense, right? So that is where we need to understand our original system. And our original system is about dividing the society into 4 varnas and 4 ashramas so that we can practice God consciousness and go back. Okay, what does that mean? So I will explain the varnas. Varnas I will explain you like nobody has explained it to you before. I can bet you a full lunch on that. There is Brahmana, there is Kshatriya, there is Vaishya, and there is Kshudra. We all agree there are 4 varnas like this. And there are various smaller castes which fit into one of these 4 blocks. And then there are people like Aghoris which don't fit into the system. They're outside of the system. Okay. So what are these 4 varnas? The first and biggest myth I would like to clear is it is based on birth. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. This society is divided by gunas and karmas. What does that mean? If I want to get a heart surgery done because I have a heart problem, then will I look for a doctor whose last name is Vaidya, means doctor? That's good enough. No other qualification required. Or will I look for somebody whose dad is a great heart surgeon? No. Are you the heart surgeon? From which university you passed and are you practicing it every day? Because if last 50 years, if you are just doing Tapashchara in Himalayas and you were a heart surgeon 50 years back, great heart surgeon, no good, because in 50 years you may have forgotten it. Guna, karma. Do you have those qualities, and do you do it every day, right? So the society should be based on not birth, but the activities we do. Like software is a profession, right? So that's a class of people who do software or technology work. They have to have certain types of capabilities, and they have to have certain attitude to be working in that way, right? So then what is these four systems created? Okay, the four classifications are based on risk management. What is risk management? Ability to take risk. The original understanding of Brahmana society or Brahmana class is that people who are God conscious, basically who have understood the Brahman, Brahma Vidya, Brahma, Parabrahma, they have understood, and they help the society understand it. And they take the vow of poverty. When I say vow of poverty, that means to an authentic Brahmana, if you give $1 million, he'll keep a small amount that is necessary for his family, but then he will figure out rest of it to be distributed in the society for the needy ones. The king used to collect taxes from the officers, right? The people used to pay taxes to the king. But the welfare was given back not through the officers, but it was given through the Brahmanas by giving donations to Brahmanas, and Brahmanas would go back to their villages and look for whose daughter is about to get ready for wedding, and whose parents are sick, and who needs any help. And they used to distribute the wealth back into the society. And you're saying, but Ganesh, I never heard about this. Of course, if you read Mahabharata also, you will realize that when Pandavas wanted to do a big yagya, Rajasuya yagya, they needed lots of funds. And even after winning the war and all that, they didn't have the kind of funds it takes to run a yagya like that. So Lord Sri Krishna guided them that they could go up north in a specific place where they will find a mountain full of gold. And the Pandavas went there and they found the gold, and they said, oh, how this gold came about? And Krishna explained that long time back, there was a king who did his yagya, and he donated all this gold to the Brahmanas who were visiting and the rishis, and they received it as a part of honor that you are supposed to receive it. And they said, oh, we don't need all this gold. So they just left it here in the jungle and left. Wow. So people were so detached that even after receiving tons of gold, they would just leave it there to the point there was a mountain of gold. Nobody was touching it. Pandavas took it, used it, and made the yagya out of it. Right. So this whole idea of a Brahmana who accumulates unlimited wealth and collects lots of gold and all that will become Brahma Rakshasa in the next life. That means it's not a good fortune to collect too much wealth and not use it for the benefit of the society. And that is where the beauty of the donations comes into picture. So today we will think of Brahmana as only one who receives the charity. No, the Brahmanas take vow of poverty. No jokes. Authentic Brahmana will take the vow of the poverty, and that's how they live the life. Ashwathama didn't even have the milk to drink. Dronacharya was so poor. And while he was teaching all the royal prince and princesses, he was that poor. So there are examples of Brahma. Sudama was the Brahmana who was very poor, and he was very proud about his poverty. He was like, yeah, I can live very poor life. So Lord Sri Krishna, he gave him wealth to Sudama to take away that pride, because that pride was becoming a spiritual blockade. So Lord may give you something or take away something. It is only a medicine for you. Whether externally it may look good and externally it may look bad, but ultimately what is happening is what is good for us. That is the Brahmana society where they are supposed to take the risk on God, first class. The second class of people are the people who are Kshatriyas. They take the risk on life. So people who are willing to risk their life in order to set justice in the society are called as Kshatriyas. Nothing to do with birth. They should have that valor. They should have that potency. They should be willing to give up their life. That's the Kshatriya class. The third class is, when I say second class, third class, it's not like bad or good. It's just I'm counting. So the third division of people is people who are Vaishyas. So you will see that a Marwadi will be sitting in his office, uneducated many times, and he will have 6 MBA finance working for him and standing in front of him every morning saying that, okay, you invest in the real estate and take this, and you take invest into the chemicals, and you invest into real, he will tell them Where to go and take the risk on his money, and they have to go research and make the investments. So although those are the people with financial wizardships and all that, the Marwadi takes the risk. And if you don't take the risk, you're not a real Marwadi. And they will see that when the girl is getting married, how many businesses you have failed, how many businesses you have tried. That's the real guy. So even if he's poor right now, he'll be able to again ask for funds and start another business. And that's how the spirit of Vaishya is to take the risk on money. So that is also interesting. Now think of remaining crowd. I do not want to take a risk on God. I want to have lots of money to be safe. Okay, so difficult to be Brahmana. I don't have the courage to take risk on my life also. If something wrong is going on, I will just look different direction. In India, you see the accident happens and people just look away. That's so then not fit for being Kshatriya also. Okay, money investment, again, I will only invest into mutual funds or savings and all that. No ability to take risk on money also. If you look at the Tesla founder, right, Elon Musk, kind of risk he takes, right? You sell one company, put all the money in the second business and live in a rental house. That's the kind of risk he takes. And he's a real Vaishya. So okay, I can't take risk on money also. So what is left? Okay, go and do a job for people who are taking those risks. You go and serve a Brahmana, or you serve a Kshatriya, or you serve a Banya, and that is the fourth class that we have in the society. Now we have to look in the mirror honestly and see where we fit. That is the Varna system in the original sense of it. Any questions? After that, I'll explain the ashramas.
In Kali Yuga, mostly all Shudras only.
That's what Prabhupada said, Kalau Kshudra Sambhavata. So a lot of people are showing the signs of Shudras, means we just like to take a job which is cozy, comfortable and work for it. It's nothing bad about it. It's just we don't want to take the risk on God or life or money. Nothing wrong about it. But based on these descriptions, if you feel that you belong somewhere else, just go do that then, right? Yes, as the Kali Yuga progresses and things get really bad, it will be very difficult to find the authentic Brahmanas who could say mantras and start the fire for the yajna. And if they sacrifice the old horse in the fire using the powerful and accurate mantras, they could bring it back to life as a litmus test that all mantras were spoken properly. We don't have those kind of Brahmanas available. Kshatriyas, sure, there are some good Kshatriyas available, but people who are really eager to fight and eager to die and do the right thing in the name of justice, even within military and police, very less number of people are so authentic minded that they will sacrifice their life for doing the right thing. There are people, but less and less nowadays. Vaishyas, yeah, very few people can take the real risk on the money. And the additional duties of the Kshatriyas was they were supposed to rule under the guidance of Brahmanas. And the duty of the Vaishyas is they will earn a lot of money, great, but whether they earn or not, they will do lots of charity to the spiritualists, and they will do pay taxes to the king. That was their expectation, right? And they would take care of the farms and cows and godhan and pashus. That was their expectation. So the society was not based on birth. How do I know? The Vedavyasa, who compiled all the Vedas into books, basically his mother was a fisherwoman. So if you are supposed to be at birth, then how he was allowed to do such a wonderful service of compiling all the Vedas, right? Whole Ramayana is composed by Valmiki. Again, he was a fisherman and he was a dacoit, right? So but in the olden days, we see the example of, oh wow, a fisherman became the great rishi and a dacoit became a great rishi by chanting God's name. Are there any examples in the current phase? Yes, the ISKCON founder Prabhupada, when he came to America, he didn't have access to money or social connect or anything. So he started with the hippies, and hippies were like social outcasts. They had given up on society. They didn't want to follow any rules. For them, unrestricted sense enjoyment, drugs was their way of life. in the young age, like 16, 17, 15. And it had become a menace for the society. It was trouble for the parents. It was trouble for the law enforcement, everything. But some of those hippies, when they came in touch with the original Bhagavad Gita and they chanted God's name, their life transformed, and their life transformed for good. And one example is we have Kanan Prabhu here in Samamish, who is a top software executive. He visited Vrindavan from India. And in Vrindavan, he met with some Westerner who was distributing spiritual books to people on the street. And he tried to distribute a book to Kanan Prabhu. And they started talking and said, okay, where are you from? Oh, America. So please give my respects to Hari Vilas. And said, how do you know Hari Vilas? That time he was Prabhu, not Maharaj. And this Westerner explained his story that he was a bum, as they call it, a hippie who will do a lot of drugs and just lie down in the park like a homeless person, beggar. So he was one of those, and he would not take shower for days and weeks. And our Harivilas Prabhu, who was a San Francisco temple president, every day he would go in the park and he would distribute food, spiritualized food, the prasadam. And he would see that this person is just like roadside and half in the drugs, and he would drop a morsel of prasadam into his mouth every day. Little open mouth was always open. He would put the morsel of food in his mouth, and that prasadam, that morsel of food started doing the magic slowly. And after days and months, this person started sitting up and talking a little bit, and finally one day he said, can I come to your temple? So Harivilas Maharaj said, yes you can, but give him money and said, go take a shower nicely, and then again give him a money and said, put on some nice clothes and now you can come to temple. And the person came to temple and he liked it, and he said, can I stay here with you guys? Because in the olden times the people used to move into ISKCON temples. And again Maharaj said, you're not ready yet, but I'll keep giving you money for staying outside and taking everyday showers, and you attend classes, and if you feel better then we'll take it from there. And this person finally joined ISKCON by going through the whole process of taking God's name and eating prasadam and reading Bhagavad Gita every day. And now he's doing Nirjala Ekadashi, waterless Ekadashis, and moved to Vrindavan, and all his life he's only distributing books, and we wouldn't be knowing. Harivilas Maharaj will not tell us how he did all this to X person, because he has done it to thousands of people. But when we met this person, one of us met with this person, told Kanan Prabhu came to Washington again, and when he told us, then we realized that this heart transformation is not a result of only in the Ramayana, not it is only in the Mahabharata. It is happening today, and it is happening to people who deserve the least in terms of their context or birth or language or cultural heritage or anything. They don't have anything and they can fully benefit out of Vedic scriptures. Then why I cannot benefit? And that was my question when I first visited the LA temple in 1999. And I saw some American sitting on the floor and wearing some saffron color dhoti and giving class in Sanskrit. I was ashamed of myself. And I literally told myself, Ganesh, you are wearing a jeans and blue jeans, and you are sitting on a chair, and you don't even know Sanskrit, and you don't even know what this guy is talking about. And this heritage, this wealth, this wisdom belongs to you. I made a note in that day that I will learn Bhagavad Gita. And time fast forward, then God will manifest your desires. And today I am talking about it. So that was the Varna system that I explained you. If you have any questions about Varna system, I'll answer that. If not, I can explain the Ashrama system, or I can explain it in the next class. Ashrama class means student life, the Brahmachari class. After that, the Grihastha life. After that, there's a Vanaprastha life, and in parallel to that, there is a Sannyasi ashram. Ashram means Ashraya, means taking shelter, and we are supposed to, as a Vedically, there's a guidance about how to live these four aspects of life. But let me first ask if there are any questions about Varnas, because what you heard is completely different than what we thought generally accepted in the society. So silence means acceptance.
Yes, I
Yes, I understand.
Okay, if you insist, I'll move forward to the next topic. We are little over time. I would like to ask whether would you like to take a stop and then we can resume the next Saturday 5 p.m. Same time basically as today.
Yes.
Yes.
What's your guidance? Is everybody gone to sleep? That's so wonderful.
Yeah,
It was really insightful.
You liked it, correct?
Yes, definitely.
I'm glad. All right, so let's take a break here and we shall resume next Saturday, and I will continue to bring the concepts which are authentic, original, but nobody taught us. We should have learned it in first grade. Did not happen, but it's never too late because this is not the first or last life we have. So anytime we start, our journey is started, and we'll take one step at a time. I want you to keep the channel open, communicate with me offline on the messages because of we are in different time zones. It's a good idea to message me. If you just call me, it might be my middle of the night. So with that, thank you so much. Again, I thank everyone who supported making this batch happen. I thank people who have taken time away from the family life and joined this in search of the higher principles. And I wish safety for you from the pandemic. And we shall connect again next Saturday or Sunday, wherever you are. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.